all you crazy cats. We are going to be reading from 3:16 to 3:23. From Obliviousness. Obliviousness is the less used excuse of the two, but a destructive culprit nonetheless. It means you are so focused in one area that you're completely unaware of the growing number of problems in another. High performers who started losing explain it by saying, I was so obsessed with work, I honestly didn't realize I was getting so fat. Or, she just up and left one day. I was blindsided and hated myself for it. Or, that's when I realized my team had been telling me the same thing for months, but I was too busy to pay attention. Pay attention. To hear high performers describe neglect due to obliviousness is always painful. They have an unmistakable tone. They hate that they took their eye off other things that mattered. Hindsight is painfully clear, especially for a neglectful former high performer, staring into the self-loathing and regret. Part of the reason it's so painful is that the things that they believed helped them climb to success, hard work, focus, and persistence, became the very things that caused their demise. Researchers have noted how sometimes tenacity and grit held for too long can actually undermine well-being and good health, make us miss alternative paths to a goal, and even cause us to neglect opportunities for collaboration. Intense hard work sustained for too long becomes workaholism, creating work-home conflict, which hurts the well-being of workaholics and the family members. That's why I'm so passionate about alerting you so you don't fall prey to obliviousness. You don't want to be that person who is blindsided by what should have been obvious. There are always warning signs along the road to disaster. We just have to pay attention. The chapter on clarity and influence will help you avoid obliviousness. Also, you might want to recall and implement the life arenas activity from the chapter on productivity. The solution is to keep perspective in life by keeping an eye on the quality or progress of major life arenas. A simple weekly review of what we're after in the major areas of our life help us rebalance or at least plan for more balance. I found it useful to organize life into 10 distinct categories: health, family, friends, intimate relationships, mission, work, finances, adventure, hobbies, spirituality, and emotion. When I'm working with clients, I often have them rate their happiness on a scale of 1 through 10, and also write their goals in each of these 10 arenas every Sunday night. There may be other areas you want to self-monitor or different descriptions or goals you're aiming for, so I encourage you to create your own categories, scoring and thinking prompts. The goal is to review consistently at least once a week. Our clients have found it enormously helpful, not only in avoiding neglect in one area, but in achieving greater overall life balance as well. Overreaching. I must say, I'm feeling underclothed. We need a tiara, because a tiara makes everything better. Don't you think? There we go. Yes, that is exactly how it should be worn. Overreaching. Now you have a new tool to avoid becoming oblivious as you continue to rise. The next issue, overreaching, is a little trickier to deal with. One reason high performers become so effective is that they are more disciplined at setting priorities for what to focus on. As you learned in the productivity chapter, they discern their primary field of interest and then focus on prolific quality output. That's what gets them to the next level and keeps them growing and adding value. But when that focus wanes due to overreaching, so too does their performance. Dun dun dun. According to the high performers who failed to maintain their success, overreaching was a problem that stemmed from an insatiable desire for more, coupled with an unrealistic sense of what is possible in a short time frame, which led to overcommitment. In other words, it was an issue of going for too much, too fast, in too many domains. Their lesson learned was clear. When you're good, you want to take on more. And more and more and more. But beware of the impulse. High performance isn't about more for the sake of more, just because you can. It's often about less, zeroing in on just those few things that matter and protecting your time and well-being so you can truly engage those around you, enjoy your craft, and confidently handle your responsibilities. Focus on just a few things and the people and priorities you really care about, and you won't fall prey to overreaching. Broaden your ambitions too widely, and your appetite soon outstrips your abilities. Hence the importance of reminding yourself that the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I can usually tell whether someone is about to fail by asking a simple question. Do you feel seriously overcommitted right now? New achievers, I found, almost always agree. Their initial success came from saying yes to almost everything that came across their plate, because they were still testing their capabilities, learning their strengths, trying to find the right thing, hoping to strike while the iron was hot. They feared they would miss out on something, and at some point they overestimated their ability to handle things. The other group, who say yes to the question, high performers on the decline. Here's the difficult mindset shift you'll have to make once you hit high performance. It will feel in some ways like the antithesis of what you're doing, like a dangerous and opposite approach, but it is vitally important. Slow down. Be more strategic and say no more often. I know telling someone with the wind at their back to slow down seems disempowering. But do yourself a favor and read that sentence again. Then give yourself a gift and read it again out loud. It's important that the line really lands for you. Slow down. Be more strategic and say no more often. Once again, slow down. Be more strategic and say no more often. I'm not reading that right. Naturally, there's a wonderful lift and momentum that comes with high performance. You can start to feel as though you've got it all going for you, especially when all the new attention and opportunities propel new ambitions and confer new freedoms. The hustle and the grind that enable your hard-earned success feels rewarding and still necessary, but the hustle and the grind mentality will burn you out, and if you continue taking on too much, you risk losing it all. Yes, you can do amazing things. Yes, you want to take on the world. Yes, you are a badass, but don't overcommit yourself just because you're good at what you do. It's a short hop from badass to burnout. So slow down, be patient. You have plenty of skill and plenty of time to keep building, adding value, innovating. You can scale up in your primary field of interest deliberately and patiently. Play the long game and life feels less like a slog and more like play. While slowing down sounds less sexy than don't settle or strike when the iron is hot, it is nonetheless the advice of over 3/4 of former high performers I spoke to. Trying to go faster and do more things seems so right when you're good and you're certain and you can knock you for a serious tumble. So what exactly do we mean by slow down? First, rather than live a reactive lifestyle, you take ownership of your day. When the success piles up, it's easy to spend time responding to invitations and calls and well-wishers' requests. Suddenly the day has cruised by and you haven't done anything. You feel successful, but nothing's really happening except new meetings. Slowing down means taking the time to care about your schedule, doing what you've learned in this book about reviewing your calendar and to-dos each night, each morning, each week. It also means saying no to good things that would stretch your day too far. If a good opportunity comes up, but it's going to rob you of a few nights' sleep, force you to cancel strategic moves you planned long ago, or knock you out of time with your family, then just say no. Cramming your day so full that you have no time for thought or rejuvenation just makes you tired and irritable. And no one credits fatigue and a bad mood for their world-class performers. That's why I encourage all high performers who want to keep rising to say no to almost every opportunity in their mind first, then force themselves to justify it before ever giving a yes. Yes, you got into the game. Taking on a lot and pursuing a lot of interests help you figure out your thing. But now that you're succeeding, more yeses can start hurting you. No keeps you focused. To help you discern between your yeses and nos, you have to start thinking much more strategically. Strategic thinking means stripping things down to the essentials and planning their accomplishment out over months and years. This is hard, but you have to weigh opportunities differently now, measuring them against a much longer horizon. You can't think just about how flashy something is this month. You have to be executing against a plan, your 5 moves that's already in place for the next several months. If the new thing you want to commit to doesn't strategically move you towards your end goal, it must be delayed. Most opportunities in life that are really worthwhile and meaningful will still be here 6 months from now. If it's that hard to believe, it's just because you're new to success. So slow down and say no more often. Be more strategic. Don't be oblivious to what really matters or reaching for what doesn't. Slow down all your hard-won momentum. Don't forget what got you here. Sometimes we're so concerned about giving our children what we never had growing up, we neglect to give them what we did have growing up. James Dobson. One last simple reminder. Don't forget the positive habits that brought you to this level of success. And do not neglect the habits that you now know will take you to the next level. Too often, we think of neglect as overlooking our problems, but it's also forgetting to continue what was working for us. You might find it useful to ask, what are the 5 main reasons I've succeeded so far in life? Put those 5 things on your Sunday review list too. Ask, am I continuing to do the things that have made me successful? One high performer told me that the best way to avoid neglecting something important to us is to teach others to value that very thing. If you're teaching your children the value of patience, for example, then you tend not to neglect that virtue or your children. What might you begin teaching others so that they keep you accountable for it? Performance prompts. 1. An area where I'm neglecting someone or something important in my life is my drinking habits. An area where that neglect will cause me regret later on is hangovers. An area where I can now return my focus, reallocating my attention to things that matters is. Some areas of my life where I feel overcommitted right now are the things I need to learn to say no to more often are. An opportunity I really want to chase right now that I could schedule to revisit in a few months is. The main things moving the needle toward my success I should be focused on right now, despite all the other exciting interests and opportunities I could chase are. The way I'll remind myself not to take on too much is. Tough truths. The culprits that steal your success are not lack of values or intelligence. The culprits are ultimately allocation of attention. You feel separate from others, so you have to stop paying attention to feedback, diverse viewpoints, new ways of doing things. You get so good that you start noticing only what's wrong, and a constant state of disappointment drains your passion. You rationalize neglecting one area of life so you can get ahead, saying it will be worth it, so you stop focusing on what really matters in life. None of these things has to be your reality. Superiority, dissatisfaction, and neglect are your enemies. Let them invade your life and you lose. Be vigilant, avoid them, and practice your HP6, and all will be well. It is always difficult truth when we notice ourselves behaving the negative ways we've discussed in this chapter. But if sustained success is important to you, I encourage you to revisit this chapter often. It will keep you humble, satisfied, and focused, and it will allow you and others to enjoy what should be an extraordinary life and a joyous ascent to high performance. Next, we will be looking at one thing, starting on page 326.